All right, today we're going to jump right into the core ideas from Donald J. Trump's 2009 book, Think Like a Champion. It's got this subtitle, An Informal Education in Business and Life, and it really lays out a very distinct philosophy for how to win, not just in your career, but in your personal life too.
Right off the bat, the book hits you with this quote from the boxer Jack Dempsey. And the whole point here is that being a champion isn't about never getting knocked down. It's about having this relentless, almost stubborn spirit to get back on your feet, especially when every part of you is telling you that you can't. So, okay, that's the spirit, but what about the mindset? How does a champion actually think on a day-to-day basis? Well, the book basically gives you a playbook for success, and that's what we're going to dive into right now. All right, so the first play from the book, if you will, is all about those internal qualities, the foundational principles that really define how a champion thinks. The book kicks things off with a definition you'd probably expect. A champion shows marked superiority and, wins. But then it immediately pivots and says, look, this isn't just about raw talent. It's about actively cultivating these specific mental attributes that create that superiority. So what are these attributes? Well, the book breaks them down into a few core ideas. Champions have to think big, obviously, but they also have to stay laser-focused and disciplined. They need the endurance to push through the tough times. And maybe most importantly, as the book quotes tennis legend Billie Jean King, they have to take responsibility. Okay, so you've got the attributes down, but what about all that stuff that goes on inside your own head? The next part of this playbook is all about mastering that inner game.
To really set the stage for this section, the book uses this quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson. The argument it's making is that your biggest enemy often isn't the competition out there, it's the fear inside you. That's the real obstacle.
So the big question is, how do you beat it? And the book offers this really powerful mental trick. Stop calling it fear and start calling it concern. See, fear, it says, is a total block. It just paralyzes you. But a concern, that's just a problem. And problems can be broken down, they can be analyzed, and they can be solved. And here's a perfect example of how that works in practice. The book tells this story about finding a very specific, rare marble for Trump Tower. The fear was, what if the slabs show up and they're all flawed? But when they reframed it as a concern, it became a solvable problem. The solution? Simple. Go to the quarry yourself and pick out the best slabs by hand. It's a fantastic example of choosing action over anxiety. All right, so you've dealt with your inner game. What's next? According to the book, it's all about getting that strategic edge by constantly learning, what it calls the knowledge advantage. Now, to explain this, the book brings in Socrates. I know that I know nothing. The whole idea here is to have some intellectual humility. You've got to start each day like a blank slate, ready to learn. Because if you act like you know it all, well, in the book's words, you're just shutting the door to great discoveries and opportunities. But then, right after that dose of humility, the book hits you with this quote from Ayn Rand. And this creates this really interesting dual philosophy. On one hand, be humble enough to admit you don't know everything. But on the other hand, be confident enough to believe that your own thinking has the power to create real value.
And the book is really clear. This learning can't just be theoretical, it has to be practical. It really pushes for financial literacy for everyone, arguing that understanding all this stuff is essential for everybody, not just Wall Street types. The book puts it plainly. Every student should know how they all work. Okay, so you've got the mindset, you've got the knowledge, now what? The next part of the playbook is all about turning thoughts into results. It's about action and momentum. One of the key mantras you see again and again in the book is this: keep it short, fast, and direct. The point is that being efficient is everything. Being concise isn't just about saving time, it's a sign of respect. And honestly, it's just a powerful way to get things done. So just how seriously does the book take this idea of efficiency? Well, it boils it down to one very specific and very telling number. Yep, 3 minutes. The book tells this incredible story about an entrepreneur named Ricardo Bellino. He was given exactly 3 minutes to make a business pitch, and he didn't just take the challenge, he nailed it. He was so concise, so effective in that tiny time slot that he got the deal. The lesson here is pretty powerful. Tight deadlines force you to be crystal clear. Now let's talk about momentum, because the book has a really interesting take on it. It's not just a thing that happens to you, it's an energy source that you control. Power, force, drive. But here's the catch. It's not automatic. You have to consciously work every single day to keep it going.
All right, so you're taking action, you're building momentum, but what do people think of you? The next play in the book is all about the strategy behind building a solid reputation.
And the book doesn't mince words on this one. It literally advocates for a toot-your-own-horn theory. It tells this story about a super rich friend who was totally anonymous and couldn't even get a dinner reservation at a hot restaurant. The point is pretty blunt. What good is success if no one knows who you are? A powerful name, the book says, can open doors like nothing else.
But, and this is a really important but, the book makes it clear this isn't about just chasing fame or what other people think. It brings in Mark Twain to argue that a strong public reputation has to start with a rock-solid foundation of self-respect. You have to approve of yourself first.
And all of this, the mindset, the action, the reputation, it all leads to the final and maybe the most crucial play in the champion's playbook, the idea that winning is never the end of the game. So, here's the big takeaway. For a champion, success is never the finish line. It's the starting block for the next race. The book says, when the achiever achieves, it's not a plateau, it's a beginning. And it uses this killer quote from Albert Camus to really hammer the point home. An achievement is a bondage. It obliges one to a higher achievement. Basically, every time you win, you're just setting a new, higher standard for yourself.
So in the end, the whole think like a champion idea is about never stopping, always moving forward. It's a playbook where the final whistle never blows. And that really leaves you with one big question to think about. What's your next first step?